morning, everybody. Welcome back to the second weekend of iASPIRE. I hope you all had a good week and we are ready to have some great interactive sessions this weekend with some of the best industry leaders. I hope you have some questions and things ready. And we have our first session coming up in accounting and auditing. So we will just wait for the speaker to enter the meeting and then I will introduce Mr. Gaurav Vora. Just a few minutes more. Actually, everybody, while we're waiting, I have a notice from the faculty, which is quite specific. So I'm going to read it out to you. Chirag sir is just saying that your assessment deadline is drawing very close and he just wants to ensure that you've taken note of all the resources that have been shared through the classroom and email. There's a lot of the presentations and video recordings on there, I believe. So he is requesting you to engage a little bit more deeply in the classroom and use it as a discussion forum to raise questions. If you're stuck anywhere in your assessments or you need clarity or anything any of the speakers said, or if you want any of your questions that were unanswered in the sessions, you can do that in the classroom. So I feel the more you put in there, the more you will get out of the classroom function. And he just wanted you to be aware of that as the assessments get a little closer, that you are all using that and the resources that are in there. So that was just a quick message from Chirag sir for you all. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either me or any of the other faculty members. I've just been informed that the speaker is having a few issues with the Zoom and his internet. So this may take a few minutes. Please just bear with us. He should be logged on any minute now. In the meanwhile, did anybody have any questions regarding the classrooms or anything and the resources that are up there? Has everybody had a chance to look? You can just type in the chat as well if you would like. Great, Bhavit, great. Thank you, Ishwarya. I think this is the first time we're actually facing a technical issue. We've been quite lucky so far.
All right, everyone, while we're waiting, how's the week been? How stressful is everything? How's school? What's happening?
Thank you, Yadu. It's great to know that you've all been having a look at the classroom. Great. And if you haven't had a chance, you can do that this weekend as well. We just want to ensure that you're making full use of all the resources that are up there. Navneet, will you just let me know when Mr. Vora joins?
Absolutely, so it should not be more than a couple of minutes. I'm on, I'm just speaking to him on and off. So
Sure.
Sorry.
While we're waiting, can I ask everybody how was their weekend? Did anybody do anything exciting this weekend? Any Netflix shows anybody should be watching or anything? Or are we all just eager to get on with the session today? See. You can just unmute yourself. Aman, have you unmuted? No? Oh, that's really nice. Is it? Oh, Mahi. Oh, that's nice that your friends are staying. It's nice to have company over.
Yeah, my exams just ended, so all the kids from my school, we had exams so far, and they
How,
over yesterday.
how did they go?
Honestly, they went pretty well. I mean, we've only gotten back business so far, and business was really good. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that went really well. So that's why my friends are staying now, so we can, sort of have our own little celebration.
Wow. Mahi, you go to Bangalore International, right?
Yeah, I go to
That's
that.
right. Yeah. So that means, and Simran, you also, I think Simran also, I guess you guys have all been busy with exams.
Yeah, we've had exams all week because we had all 6 exams in the last 5 days. So it's been
Wow.
really hectic.
Okay, so and now you have this, but this I think this will be a fun weekend for everybody. We have a lot of interactive sessions, so it's more about your participation.
I don't think I wouldn't regard this as work exactly, because this is more like it's not exactly work. It's more fun. It's
Good.
better than like studying non-stop.
Glad to hear it. I think now Mahi and everyone, we can definitely carry on and have a chat later. I think we do have some social event planned for you today, so we can all chat there. But can somebody please confirm that the speaker is on now? Mr. Gaurav is here.
Yes, Sonia, the speakers.
Okay, great, thank you. So if everybody can mute, I will just introduce Mr. Vora. Siddharth, can you please change the slide for everybody? So let's get the session started. I'd like to introduce Mr. Gaurav Vora, who is Head of Financial Advisory Services, CFO, KPMG in India. Mr. Vora has 20 years of experience in the field, and he will complete 25 years in the profession next year. He's an undergraduate. He has an undergraduate degree from SRCC, which is a New Delhi University, and he's a chartered accountant. He handles IFRS, US, GAAP, and regulatory reporting. He also provides equity and debt listing assistance and leads learning solutions, which is an area of passion for him. So Mr. Vora, I would love to just hand over the session to you now.
Sure. Thanks, Sonia. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
All right, excellent. First of all, my sincerest apologies for the delay. There was a technical glitch we had on our end, and I think it's expected with any Big Four, especially auditing side. I think certain firewalls were built in, which I couldn't at least get around and had to get in my IT. I'm genuinely very sorry for this.
No
Thank you
problem.
for this. No, thank you for this opportunity to interact. How many people do we have on now?
Just over 30, sir. It's, yeah, just over 30.
All right, and largely, how many of them would have had accounting as a background as I start off? I mean, just wanted to get a sense. I wanted this to be a freewheeling conversation basis whatever I discussed with Navni. I hope that's okay with you guys. And so, how many of them would have, let's say, accounting as a background or science as a background? Just a quick thing, and then I'll quickly start off with an introduction for myself and move on. Yeah.
Sure. Students, you can either put that in the chat or you can unmute and give your answer to sir, please. Whatever you prefer.
I did accounts in 9th and 10th, if that counts.
Sure. Okay. I mean, as a ballpark, would we have this as a statistic available, or we'll have to get it from everybody? Okay, accounting. Okay.
There are a few. Pavit has done. Pratham has. Ishwarya has a good background in accounting. Mahi also, I think she just said she has 2 years. So I would say
Sure.
possibly 5, sir. Possibly.
It's a mixed batch.
Yeah, mixed batch.
No worries at all. So sure, no, that's helpful. Thank you. So very quickly, as a quick background, my name is Gaurav Vora. I'm a partner with KPMG. Started my career back in '97 with Coopers and Lybrand before Coopers and Lybrand merged with PW to make PwC. As ma'am mentioned, I come with honors in economics actually, and that's one of the reasons why I was asking, because the area we're going to touch upon today is avenues available in auditing and accounting. And just wanted to give you a brief background in the sense that I did science in my +2, and I did economics as my undergrad degree at the Delhi University with Shriram. And after that, I changed my course to move on to accounting. So there's a chartered accountant's degree which is available in the country, and that's something which I pursued, working with Coopers and Lybrand. So it's been a mixed bag, and so if there are students who've had non-accounting background, I just want to give you some comfort that you could move to accounting and auditing as a profession, and I'll delve into that in a minute from now. And I must share that as I moved to auditing and accounting as a career post my graduation, in my batch of the best candidates at PwC, I did ACE accounting as a subject all through. And so spent about 15 years with PwC, went on to work in the industry. I was the head of finance for General Motors, the Chevrolet brand of cars in the country, managing their 3 plants and a R&D center. Played that role and was acting CFO for about 2 years, parts of 2 years, 2.5 years, which I spent there. And then I came on board KPMG about 7 years back. This is, just started on my 8th year, and have spent, like I said, close to 25 years, mostly in NCR region. Obviously, I travel both nationally as well as internationally for work, but largely NCR has been my core area of work. The clients which I tend to lead for the firm from a relationship perspective across sectors would include the likes of Airtel, Aircel, Ericsson, Nokia, Microsoft, General Motors, MG Motors, which is the Hector brand now, Royal Enfield, and many others. On the government side, I deal with ONGC, IOC, Petronet, GAIL, all the Navratnas, Steel Authority of India, and work with them. That's a bit of a background in terms of where I started and what I did. Have largely remained in profession except for a brief stint when I'd gone out and worked in industry. And so the session today, I was given this opportunity, very happy to be here. Very happy to actually know that, I saw the history, and I think you guys started off in 2006. When I was there back in my time, Delhi University obviously was the only choice, and then you had to go out and do further studies if you wanted to sort of ace it. I mean, till date, I harbor this aspiration to probably go back to economics. That's very close to me, and remains an area of passion. One of the other reasons I've continued with the big fours as they are known. So there's Ernst & Young, there's PricewaterhouseCoopers, there's KPMG, and there's Deloitte. I'm sure most of you know that. So there are these big four accounting consulting firms which delve in the area of accounting, auditing, taxation, and then advisory. So all the due diligence work, etc., which happens right now when a Geo is going around selling stakes to Saudi Aramco or to Facebook or to others. Our teams across these 4 big fours, which I named for you, are working very actively on those deals. And I'll sort of try and cover that aspect also in a minute from now. So the intent of the session today would basically be to cover some of the requisite skills and qualifications which are required what from a behavioral or attitude perspective or personality type could also be an added advantage if one was to embark on a journey on a course like this. What could be some of the pros and cons of a career in accounting and auditing. I will also try and share what a typical day in the life of an accountant is or auditor is, but that depends upon where you are in that hierarchy. And then we will, time permitting, touch upon some of the latest trends, what's happening, both in industry, academia, and on the government side, on the policy making side. And thankfully, touch wood, I am attached with all those three. I mean, frankly, I'm attached with over 10 universities as I speak to you, and my courses have been embedded in those colleges, because about a decade back, industry started realizing that we were getting students who were coming from universities but weren't ready to take on professional jobs or roles, or it required another round of training, etc., blah blah, before they could take the hit. They could hit the deck running. And that's where we embedded some of our courses on international accounting and taxation and M&A related stuff, forensic accounting, auditing, etc., in some of these marquee universities. And then at times we end up recruiting some of these people from those courses. So very, very passionate about trainings and learnings as an area. Train about more than 5,000 people annually on international financial reporting standards. That's the global accounting language. I mean, if you guys are taking notes, I mean, I would encourage you to just make a note of some of these. That's one common language. I mean, just to digress a bit, if you have, if I tell you I have traveled 1 kilometer in the US, and if I've traveled 1 kilometer in India or UK or Japan or China or Pakistan, anywhere, that 1 kilometer everybody knows is 1,000 meters, right? And there's a clear definition of what 1,000 meter means. What's that distance? Obviously, there is a standard meter which is kept in one of the museums in the UK somewhere, which is the standard gauge for sure. But we all know that. But when an Indian company goes out and says, I have made a profit of 100 crores this year, or let me use billions as a, so if an Indian company says, I've made a profit of $1 billion this year, let's say TCS, or let's say Maruti for that example, and a Toyota says, I have made a profit of $1 billion this year, many a times it is felt that how they define that $1 billion and how they got to their $1 billion is not exactly the same. So if Toyota, some of you from accounting background probably would be able to relate with this example a little better, and my other friends, I would request you to just bear with me. But when Toyota ships out a vehicle to its dealer, and when the dealer makes the actual sale to somebody like you and me, at that point of time, they recognize their revenue, okay? And then they recognize what is the cost they incurred to recognize that revenue. But come to Maruti, the moment the vehicle is shipped out of their plant, they would recognize revenue and the cost, all right? With the result that you would probably have a much higher sales number in an Indian company and thus a higher profit number vis-a-vis Japanese company, which is a little more conservative and follows Japanese GAAP, all right? Whereas the Indian company follows Indian GAAP, where they say, okay, if you've transferred the risk and the moment the vehicle is out, you can recognize revenue, they go and recognize then. And then you've got UK GAAP, Italian GAAP, French GAAP, Dutch GAAP, Sri Lankan GAAP, 156 GAPs. GAAP is basically generally accepted accounting principles, which means how does one transaction get recorded? If you've bought a fixed asset, if you bought a printer, can you capitalize it, or does it go to your P&L? Is it a cost or is it a fixed asset? So you need to have, I'll answer some of the questions. I would request Navni to keep parking them. Sorry, yeah, I'm not able to simultaneously look at the chat, and so it'll break the flow, but just bear with me, I'll answer all the questions, yeah? So whether that printer that you've bought is a fixed asset and hence goes to the balance sheet, or is it a cost item and you take it to P&L, could differ from country to country. Thus, if let's say you are a global fund manager, you're Blackstone, you are an investment manager sitting at BlackRock, okay? You've got $2 billion to invest in automotive stocks across the globe. You don't care where the company is as long as you get the buck for the bank, yeah? Bang for buck, sorry, and all the moolah that you're investing, you have to go back and justify to your investors that you're bringing them a certain IRR or a return on the amount they've parked with you. So how do you deal with a situation like that? How does an investment manager make a decision whether to invest his part of his $2 billion in a Toyota or a Maruti or a BMW or a General Motor or a Ford, or now increasingly in Tesla, which has even gone beyond Toyota in market capitalization, right? Unless he's able to decipher and compare the results of all of these companies in a common standard language, that if one says I have made this much profit and this much cash, he's able to compare apples with apples. This is a problem which the sector, which the profession was grappling for the longest time. And then in the year 2000, all the countries across the globe got together. I'm just jumping few years and generalizing a few things, but the idea is to get the principle across to you. So in the year 2000, all of the countries got together and they said, we will issue something known as International Financial Reporting Standards. Okay, these will be the standards which will be followed by almost all the companies and countries across the globe, so that investors can make intelligent investment decisions. So while that's easier said than done, because the economic realities of an India is very different from the economic realities of a UK or a US, and then all of these countries have their own geopolitical ambitions, and some of them may not tend to agree. So even today in the US, all the local companies in the US, for example, General Motor, which is a local company in the US registered there, actually cannot file its financial statements in IFRS with NYSE. It will have to file its financial statements in US GAAP only, which is the United States generally accepted accounting principles. So there are certain areas where differences still remain, but largely over 100 plus countries, in fact, almost 150 countries today follow something known as International Financial Reporting Standard in different forms and manner. And thus, accounting today is becoming a lot more globally accepted profession. I heard in some of my discussions leading up to this session that ACCA is also something you guys want to talk about. So I'm parking that and I'll touch upon that in a minute from now. But frankly, what happened since 2000? So when I had a science background, I shared with you, and I had economics as my undergrad specialization. So when I moved on to doing accounting, auditing, and joined PwC, some of my questions to my friends always who came from accounting background were exactly this. I said, if balance sheet has to tally at all points of time, then the world balance sheet should always be tallied. But it could never be tallied because people were following different gaps. But today we are much closer to the reality that today, if Tata Motors says I have to take $1 billion from Toyota, Toyota better reflect that 1 billion payable to Tata, and it should square off if I was to make a world balance sheet. And genuinely, we are moving much closer to that reality today. So in terms of, so what the other thing which happened was, since 2000, this is something which started happening. And if you're familiar with the KPOs, the BPOs, and the back offices and the global captives that we have in the country, India actually has become the global capital for accounting and reporting hub, in a manner to say. So you have the Genpact, you have the TCS, you've got Infosys, Accenture. The largest Accenture footprint outside of, I think, US would be in India. Okay, in fact, it will be the biggest in India. In fact, even in KPMG, in terms of headcount, India is the number 2.
Sir, are you there? I think he is having some technical difficulties, everybody. Just bear with me while I find out what's happening. I'm so sorry about this.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir, you're back.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I only dropped or there are others also who dropped, but I got a message saying that Zoom was doing some background endpoint protection check or something like that. So apologies for this break again. So where was I? Where was I? Sorry, where was I?
Talking about the generally accepted accounting principles, and then you were talking about Accenture and KPMG having the highest.
Yeah. So India, So India actually became a global hub for accounting talent and knowledge. And like I said, even KPMG has the highest footprint of employees in the KPMG world globally. And with the address, like, so I was talking about the stock exchanges. So today I was giving that analogy that stock exchanges work 24/7. The markets are 24/7, 365 days. And believe you me, that's a fact. And with international financial reporting standards as a common platform, results are really comparable. So even during pandemic times, the stock exchanges are, the only entity which probably never closed, right? Except for a historical one-day momentary blip at, I think, Nasdaq and NYSE. Other than that, no stock exchanges closed, and all the investors are making their decisions on a real-time basis, even in these pandemic times. So you've seen markets drop by 35%. You've seen markets come up by almost 35 to 50%, but obviously not the highs they were at before. But everybody's taking a bet on what's going to happen. So this whole thing about accounting and auditing is that we are one of the most important wheels in this whole investment and capital formation journey. So any investor would not, so I was giving you the Geo example. Any investor would not pick up a stake in Geo till he gets a comfort from an independent third party, which could be a KPMG and a UI or a PwC, but at least one of these four, okay? And typically they pick up two to say that, okay, whatever Geo and Reliance are saying, please double check the numbers for me, okay? Once we as independent experts and professionals confirm that the numbers look fine, is when any investor would go ahead and make a investment. So this is the private investment which is coming in. Similarly, for all the listed entities in India, you have an auditor for every financial statement. So the financial statements are to be prepared by the management. If tomorrow one of you goes on to be an entrepreneur and starts his own business, so I work with OYO, okay? So Ritesh, he started his business and he said, I am getting so much top line and this is my cost and this is my bottom line and I need funds. But SoftBank did not sign up to that account till he got an independent confirmation from the likes of us. I won't go into who amongst these big fours, but yeah, I work very, very closely with a lot of these people. He didn't sign up till the time we verified those numbers for him. So no investor gets a comfort purely on the management telling him we are good. They need an independent third party to come in. This is where accountants and auditors come in and play a very, very important role. And thus, as a profession, this has really developed in the last 75, 80 odd years and attained great heights as we speak to you. At the same time, right now, it is probably also going through one of its lowest phases in terms of credibility. If some of you are aware of the Anderson scam, which happened around the time 2000, year 2000, and that was also one of the reasons why IFRS came about very, very quickly. Or if you've heard of something known as Sarbanes-Oxley, SOX, those are controls which management are supposed to write and the CFO and CEO are supposed to sign that I have followed all these controls. That's how my financial statements are prepared. And then the auditor is supposed to certify that, yes, the company has followed all the controls, all the assets they are saying are theirs, all the expenses they've charged to P&L are actually to be charged off to P&L. All the investments that they have made are actually investments, and all the cash that they are holding is actually their cash. So I can go on the balance sheet. There's so many components, but every number on the balance sheet in P&L is to be certified by the CFO and the CEO of that company and the company secretary. and then the auditor independently comes in and puts his stamp on it, and then it becomes relevant and it becomes acceptable in the market. So even in the stock market today, I mean, by one statistic, KPMG's today, I mean, I must share this statistic, we are probably doing 50% of the Sensex and 40% of the Nifty as auditors. So KPMG is just about 25 years in the country. We just completed 25 years I think last year or the year before, but has gone on in that 25 years to become the #1 auditing company in the country. And I say that with a lot of pride. And at the same time, as this was happening, like I said, so in India today, the number of chartered accountants we have, and the number of accounting professionals that we have, and the number of auditing professionals that we have, and the kind of command they respect globally is immense. There are tons and tons of work which gets outsourced to India. And at one point of time, I mean, people started saying that we are like an accounting engine and we're just like factories, accounting factories and stuff like that. But increasingly, all the stalwarts in the outsourcing space and even the big fours have been able to demonstrate that we are doing probably some of the highest level of complexity work sitting out of India. And frankly, I say this with a lot of pride that sitting out of India, I probably train people across the globe on US general accepted accounting principles or international financial reporting standards. And that's where I was giving you that statistic. We train more than 5,000 people every year on one or the other course and certify them as, having done those courses. So I say this with a lot of pride that industry came together, the big fours came together as professionals and as auditors and accountants. The academia came together because the universities recognized that there had to be an industry academia joint effort to ensure that we have the most relevant courses taught in the best possible mode of instruction with real life examples. And then we have people who either, if they want to go for higher studies, go out and then are a matter of pride for India once again, as they sound a lot more intelligent and knowledgeable around all the aspects of the studies that they do in the universities in India. Or if they hit the job market, they are job ready and are hitting the deck running. So academia came around, industry came around, the professionals came around, and the latest entrant in this whole thing is the policymakers. Okay, so today the government has got this NSDC, National Skill Development Council, and a large chapter in that NSDC is actually dedicated to accounting and finance. In fact, last weekend I attended a interministerial government meeting along with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the NSDC representatives. And the idea was to come up with some global standards in accounting and finance, which has become India's forte and brings in a lot of foreign exchange for the country. So now the government, in a way, is saying that Make in India may be on the back foot, but services has really come forward. And why don't we play on our strengths and then come out with something which could be truly Indian but made for the world? So those are some of the initiatives where we are now working very, very closely with the government. In fact, the government is going to launch a lot of certification programs under their skill development side. Yeah. So that is a bit of a, what should I say, how do I paint the ecosystem for you? But yes, every company out there who's listed or unlisted, because even for filing for a private company or a startup who wants to file their income tax return, needs a certification from an auditor saying that these are fine and the numbers are good. And that's when the government or the tax authorities sort of depend on those numbers. So the very, very respected profession, very, very relevant and required profession. Okay. And requisite skill sets typically for this would be, and I'll combine the behavioral aspects also. And I think one of the reasons why, at the cost of sounding a little immodest, one has tasted a little bit of success is, one, be good with numbers, have a analytical bent of mind, have a questioning bent of mind, carries some amount of skepticism. The tagline in this profession is trust, but still verify. So even like I said, I was a science +2. I was a economics graduate, but probably turned out to be amongst the best. I used to interact with the CFOs and not be afraid of it because I had all the numbers, I had all the work papers. I mean, they rather, be ready with their answers. So that, to my mind, is really, really an important facets. That does not mean you have to be a guru at mathematics or binomials and trigonometry and that stuff, because that's not what business maths is all about. But yes, if you think you've got a knack for numbers and some of the other skills which I touched upon, this is definitely a area or a profession which you should give a shot, and which has got very, very what should I say, excellent opportunities awaiting. And even in these times when a lot of jobs are on the line, and a lot of jobs are going to automation, as long as you can differentiate yourself and concentrate on not doing the mechanical work, but carrying that technical acumen which you acquire as you either pursue a chartered accountant's degree or an ACCA course. And trust me, economics, I still love the subject. I will go back to it one day. I have made that promise myself. Is probably one of the best groomings one could have, because then you don't get caught in only a debit or a credit. You look the balance sheet or you look the business from a very different perspective. All the macroeconomics, all the microeconomics that you study, you bring to the fore. So while my peers used to go and ask clients questions around this debit and credit entries not making sense, my questions were more around, okay, so if you sold so many cars and as per your bill of materials, so much iron should have been used, and I know your scrap percentage, so much should have been left in inventory. I can't see it. And honestly, coming from an analyst or a junior associate, but there was a lot of one pushback I got, but I got a lot of backing from my partners, and managers, early managers, who said, but the question is right. And that's what these managements are supposed to answer. So if some of you are privy to some of the scams which have happened recently, whether that was the Manpasand beverages or whether that was okay, let me not go down there, controversial, but there are a lot of scams which are happening. But if you ask the right questions at the right time, and trust me, most time on an auditing engagement is spent by the junior associates who go on to the field and do the field work. The managers and others are actually managing the overall thing, but obviously managers have to ask their junior associates the relevant questions as well. But very, very exciting. I'm telling you, you get to go to factories which you've never imagined. So I've been to the best of the factories, the most sophisticated ones, and I've been to the worst of the factories. I've been at the command center and the control center for somebody like an Airtel, where they at any given point of time are watching a data set which could be in billions. And there are like, if you've seen some stock exchanges, so I was very recently at the New York Stock Exchange. When you go to the stock exchange, you have a 360-degree view. There are probably 500 screens flashing different things all the time. So it's something similar at a Airtel or a Vodafone or a Jio, where they have to ensure that their command center is up at all points of time. The network is not down. Yeah, I'll answer your question, Ishwarya. Very, very amazing. So I've been onto a ship to inspect the vessel. I've been onto the ONGC's oil platform, which is deep sea. You get to do amazing work. You get to learn real time, first hand, interact straight away with the who's who and the CFOs. And you have the ability, if you have your data and if you've done your homework, to question them and then hold your moral responsibility to the investors. Many a time there are these dilemmas. Let's say if Reliance is owned by Ambani's, should the auditor of the company be answerable to Ambani's, or should the auditor of the company take care of the interest of all the other minority shareholders and investors who've invested in them? And that's a very, very important line to know. And thus one has always said that my job is to have the best set of accounting and the rightest set of accounting numbers put out in the stock exchange and in the media, which I'm happy and comfortable signing. If I'm not comfortable, I will not sign. You've seen so many auditor resignations also of late because the managements and the auditors don't agree on things. Yeah. So it's a great profession to sort of embark upon. And one of the side channels which is sort of developed over the years is, as auditors' questions became inquisitive and more data driven, more analytical, the companies also had to then come up with even more sharpened responses. So I must share with you that for the last 20 years, I haven't done an audit. For the first 3 years, 3.5 years, I did audits. And then I moved to an area where I tend to call myself as a CFO or a controller's best friend, because they also need a lot of ammunition, because most of the times they're doing the right things, but they're not sure where exactly in the literature is it written that what they're doing is right. So I have over the years specialized this art of not letting any auditors or regulators, whether it is the SEC, whether it is the ROC, whether it is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India or our own SEBI, to come and trouble the companies. Okay, if the company has done something which is right, acceptable, signed off by the auditor, one should be able to defend it. And that's an area which increasingly I've been playing a role in. So we call it financial advisory services. So I do anything and everything which an auditor doesn't do. So if an auditor cannot come and do accounting because he has to audit you, he has to check you, I go down and tell the companies what their right accounting is. And last night at 12, I received a very urgent call from US, and there is a company which has been acquired there, and they say this company has been recognizing revenue on day one, the moment they ship, just like a Maruti example. Although this company is in software field, this company has been recognizing revenue the moment they cut a bill, and they are in software, and I'm not comfortable, and I would want to recognize it, on a straight line basis, or when till my contract lasts, etc. Now there are positives and negatives to both of it, and one can analyze what is the right. So, but he needs an answer within 24 hours. So my team is working even as I'm interacting with you, and we will turn around a draft answer to them in the 24. So that's how critical it becomes, because if the company continues to recognize revenue on day one, then they don't have visibility on or stability of revenues for the next few years. And we all know that we get what should I say, the investment multiple. So if Facebook is ready to pay me $2 billion today for a 9% stake, the platform that it is investing it in is in losses today. So it is not paying me for the current losses, it is paying me for the future potential. So all of this becomes very, very exciting, very, very relevant. You are actually working on real time, helping clients make their investment decisions, helping prepare their books of accounts, helping corporates. So if I could give you a statistics today, I think global Fortune 500 companies, at least 80% of the companies have outsourced work to India. And of the outsourced work, 80% of that work is done in India. For example, HSBC, their annual report is the size of an erstwhile telecom directory which we used to have. Sonia, just give me 1 second.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
And that telecom directory, which is like 3.5 inches thick, 80% of that is prepared out of India. Okay. So there are a lot of career opportunities here, a lot of exciting work here. Chartered accountancy is one degree which you could pursue to actually land and then go much further if that is what interests you. But there are other streams also, even within these big fours. All right. So even accounting now for insurance companies and banks requires a lot of actuarial insights, which will come. Economics is one of the subjects which people pursue, and statistics and data analytics along with it is what makes it very, very relevant. All right. And sorry, I'm just a bit conscious of time, and I know you guys have been patient listeners for the longest time. I'm happy to sort of open this up and now make it a lot more conversational. There are aspects, Navni, which I may not have covered, and because we started 15 minutes late, hope we'll go 15 minutes beyond 11. Happy to spend time. And please feel free to be the devil's advocate and ask all the questions where you believe I must have missed out on some attributes which we should have covered in this talk. Yeah.
We have to unfortunately do a hard stop at 11 because the next speaker starts at 11. So we can surely switch to a Q&A session now if that's okay with you.
No, yeah, perfectly okay with me.
Yeah. So let's see.
I'll begin by telling you the questions that came in earlier. Ishwarya was asking, is there any threat regarding the scope in the auditing sector in the near future?
So very good point. One, this profession, Aishwarya, is not going to die down. Nobody will, so you will not invest a rupee with OYO or SoftBank or anybody till you know that what numbers they are giving you are correct, right? And that's where auditors would always have a say. Accountants will always have a say as independent professionals. And so, yes, we run a risk. For example, if we are also taken for a ride and we end up signing on wrong numbers, then we run that risk. And that's why one has to be very proficient at what one does, cover oneself legally as well. And at the same time, I can't shy away from doing what is a requisite requirement. I mean, even a doctor who operates on a patient could be taken to court for something which goes wrong. But as long as you've done it right and not with a malintent, you're always covered. So exciting profession. I would not suggest that you get carried away by the risk aspect. There are risks in everything. The other question I saw from Yadu, irrespective of what company you are, whether you are a bank, whether you are an insurance company, whether you are a car company, whether you are a hospital, whether you are a NGO, you all need auditors. You all need auditors. Yes. Yeah, regarding income tax returns, chartered accountants. So how do you compute your income? Once you've determined your accounting profit, the tax authorities say, look, accounting profit is just book jugglery. Okay. There are certain expenses I'm not going to allow you. Okay. There are certain depreciation. You bought a car and you want to write off the car in 1 year. I will not allow you. Okay. So the tax teams, tax authorities have certain rules which you have to follow when you compute your income tax. I mean, check with your parents also. They'll also tell you that even if like some are in business or some are in service, even when I have to offer my income to tax as salary income or as business gains income as a partner with the firm, there are certain adjustments which I need to do. So the chartered accountants are again the best people to do that for you, and they have the requisite knowledge and they sign off and help you do that. So for GST and income tax, frankly, Aishwarya, it is the chartered accountants course only. There are certain certifications available, but frankly, with GST coming in, while there is so much backlash and people are saying it's not a simple tax, frankly, it's much simpler. I mean, you guys are so lucky. You haven't seen, when I started my career, there were 17 odd taxes which I used to check for a single transaction which the entity used to do. So while there is a lot of political to and fro which is happening around this, but GST is very simplified now. It's good and simple tax for sure, and in the years to come it will become even more simpler. The problem with that is that then it renders itself to a lot of automation. So unless you are a top-notch a professional who understands GST in and out and wants to fight cases in legal terms, the opportunities around GST accounting etc would tend to dry up a little, is my sense. Don't quote me on this, but that's my independent thought on this. Yeah. But to complete my question on Yadu, you need an auditor for everybody. Even the government has an auditor. There's somebody known as Comptroller and Auditor General, CAG. So if you know, when Modi Sarkar came in, they came in on this plank saying that CAG has found 2 lakh crores worth of scam in how the coal allocation had happened and telecom spectrum had happened. And all those scams were unearthed by the auditor called Comptroller and Auditor General, who audits the government spend. All right. So, any other question?
Can I ask my question?
Yes, Vasu.
So, sir, if I want to get into finance, investment banking, ultimately, so what should be my most lucrative road bank? Like for my undergrad, should I pursue a certification or should I go for finance and accounting courses, or should I directly go for ACCA and then pursue something else? So, what should be?
So, if you want to, fair enough. I'm just conscious of time, so I'll try and quickly answer. So. Unless Navni and Sonia obliges by telling the next speaker also that there's a technical glitch and we'll take 8-10 minutes more, which I'm not sure to do. Having said that, look, if you want to go into investment banking, okay, on the investment side and on the finance side, then you don't have to be a chartered accountant. Though I still continue to believe, and some of the best compliments which I get from the clients I interact with, and I don't have a LinkedIn profile, so they can't find out before I meet them who I am. So is that they believe that I'm from probably one of the best, management institutes. So whether that's an IIM or a global one, they don't think I'm a chartered accountant. Okay, but I believe a chartered accountant plus an MBA degree is the most lethal combination you can have to become one of the best investment gurus or investment managers, etc. Having said that, if you are clear that auditing, accounting, etc. is not your forte, you won't get there. You more for this investment banking and a slightly more glamorous job role, okay? Then MBA is the best. And yes, as you prepare for that MBA in finance, okay, and now there are courses in investment banking also, you should pick up some of these certifications along your journey as an undergrad around finance and accounts, and then move down that path is what I would say.
Like, given that you have been in the industry, what's the demand for after undergraduation if I want to pursue a job? So what would be the best option, as in, do the big companies hire CAs and accountants,
So
or do they hire?
Very good point. So undergrads typically land up with most of these captives, Vasu, okay? Whether that's a Accenture, whether that's a TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Genpact, WNS, yeah, and the likes. So undergrads typically line up there, or if they want to pursue a chartered accountancy, they pick up an articleship with one of the big four firms, okay? And then some of you get lucky and pick up summer internships or are top of your class, then you get taken as management trainees, okay? Get recruited as management trainees. You work for a year or two, okay? I mean, the likes of ITC, HUL and some of these others, but those numbers are very few, okay? So the race is really, the fight for those one seat is like 1 to 100 or even more, okay?
Yeah.
And then you work for 2 years and then go on and pursue an MBA degree, okay? Those are the typical slots which are available.
Okay.
Or if you want to get into, let's say, trading, you want to become the next Harshad Mehta or Ketan Parekh, or, I mean, the names are wrong, but obviously you want, or let's say Junjunwala, okay? Then, I mean, frankly, you just need the knack for numbers. I mean, if you've done a good undergrad degree, and then you start joining a brokerage firm for 2 years as an SMC or a BlackRock or some of these others, okay? DSP and others, and work with them. They also take undergrads, and then they get you certifications around investment, and there are some NSE certifications which are available, investment certification, trading certifications which are available. You can probably pick up that.
So the brokerage firms take undergrad from finance itself, right? Like
they
those
do,
who have
do,
undergrad finance.
Yeah, they do.
And which one would you prefer, CA or ACCA?
So personally, because I'm a chartered accountant, I like to believe CA is the best degree in the world. I have taken CPAs to cleaners, I've taken ACCA to cleaners over a long period of time, and I like to be very transparent. So Indian Chartered Accountants course has probably, we are with Indians have this knack for money. Okay, we are the savers. We were like worldwide, we were the best savers and best with the money. Genuinely, when the global financial crisis happened in 2008, the only country which probably escaped it unscathed was India. And the RBI governor of that time, Y.V. Reddy, was hailed globally as one of the visionaries who didn't succumb to the fancies of the subprime lending and some of the other stuff which was happening. And Deepak Parekh and others went on record to say, in hindsight, we want to thank Mr. Reddy for saving us, because we used to go to his throat every second day saying, boss, allow us, allow us, allow us. Every country is doing it. Why don't you allow us, allow us, allow us, blah, blah. Anyways, having said that, genuinely the Indian Chartered Accountant course is very, very comprehensive, and the testing standards are very high. So the pass percentage when I passed was 4 out of 100 people used to become a chartered accountant, okay? And it's one institute which gives you that degree. However, what I will grant ACCA is that ACCA has come up with a 14 subject paper. Its curriculum is such that they will also train you into multiple subjects. It's industry relevant as well. And then they insist that you work for 2 years, okay? And then you get your degree before you actually get your degree, okay? So relatively speaking, ACCA is a simpler and a, relatively speaking, easier exam to crack, okay? And they are a little flexible also in terms of exam centers on where all they allow their exams to happen, and the level at which they test, etc. And I think the pass percentages are also higher. And because it is a UK body, so there are 3 bodies in UK. This is one of them which certifies accountants. So this body then claims that they are accepted in 150 odd countries, okay, as an ACCA degree. So that's their USP, and I think they are coming up very, very fast. In fact, they're launching in India also. I think with some universities also they're launching their courses, and then you can take exams sitting anywhere. Earlier there were certain few centers identified, etc. So I think there are career prospects now open with both. And frankly, if you ask me honestly, whether it's an MBA degree you get from IIM Ahmedabad or you get it from IMT Ghaziabad, whether it's a chartered accountant's degree or whatever, beyond a point, the degree or the institution that you come from, beyond opening the first few doors for you, which are relatively easier for you to get opened, it is your own performance, your own impetus, your own caliber, which carries you in the world wherever you go. And that I mean it. Having spent 25 years and seen people from all walks of life, I can tell you that that's a fact. Sorry, Sonia, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a very interesting session, and obviously you have a wealth of experience to share with the students, but there's unfortunately only so much time, sir. But thank you so much for your session. I know you were having a lot of technical glitches in the beginning, but I think everything kind of smoothed out in the end. Just very briefly, sir, we would, on behalf of ISBF, we have a small token of appreciation that we would like to give you. I think everybody is very environmentally conscious at the moment, and we thought we could do our bit for the environment by donating trees on your behalf by an organization called Sankalp Taru.
Sankalp Taru, yeah.
Yeah, yes. So we have donated trees on your behalf, and you will shortly get a certificate to find out where your trees have been planted, and you can follow the journey.
No, absolutely. This is such a nice gesture. Thank you. Genuinely, I'm sorry for starting late because of technical glitches, but always love interacting with students. And if it gives you some comfort, I planted a tree myself when I was 7. It's a mango tree in my house. And these days, I can't take my laptop out and I would have shown it to you. But yeah, we are now eating all those mangoes after all those years. Wow. So very, very environmentally conscious. I couldn't have gotten a better gift. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for all your time. Take care.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, you can leave the meeting now for the next speaker. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. The next session is on actuarial science and will be led by Vikas Nevatia. I do believe students, I think there's some issue with Zoom today and a lot of people are facing technical difficulties on this side. So please just bear with me. We are trying to resolve these issues with the speakers, and he should be on in the next couple of minutes. Before Vikas joins us, I think he is facing some technical issues, which he faced in we have a test link. I can give you a little bit of background on Vikas. He works with RSA, which is Royal Sun Alliance in the UK, and actually they recruit from iASPIRE for the data analytics team. And this year we have sent our first student there to take a position as a data analyst. Obviously, their main business is Actuarial Science, and he is going to be talking more about that. But just so you know, at least in India, that division is, there's clearly two divisions there. We are also talking with them to get credits for the University of London program, so that if you want to become an actuarial scientist, you can get credits from our course at LSE towards those exams. Those talks have been in the work for some time, and we're hoping to get some conclusions on that, on those credits for the actuarial exams. So just to give you a little bit of background, we do have a long-standing relationship with Royal Sun Alliance, and Vikas himself, he's done many talks for us at the school, at our college. And hopefully he should be on any minute now. Is anybody else having any difficulty with Zoom today or in your regions? I have a feeling it's just the Delhi NCR region, or actually, while we're waiting for him, Siddharth, could you please also just put the slide on so we can just see a background into Vikas's career profile. So as you can see, he's had 25 years of experience in technical and business advisory. He's done managed services, SaaS, and concepts to international clients in financial services, mostly in the insurance space. He's also worked for Lloyd's of London market and the company market in the UK, and also parts from continental Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. And he has previously held leadership positions at Towers Watson, AG Risk, and PwC. He is also alumni of King's College London with the University of London. It's another small fact. And I believe he is on finally. Let's see. Vikas, are you on?
I can see him in the participant list, Sonia.
Yeah, he's there.
But you're muted, Vikas, at the moment.
Mute and start a video.
Yes. Hi, Vikas.
Oh my God, I can see.
Hello.
Sorry.
Finally.
I had to change devices and everything, so it's just crazy. Apologies. It's just the way it is, I guess. Technology.
No, it's fine. It's fine because I've given you a big lead-up introduction, so I'm going to let you take it away so we can save some time. I know you've got a great session planned, so take it away.
Thank you very much, and I no doubt you've said kind words, so I appreciate that. So thank you very much for the intro, although I didn't hear it, but I'm sure you did justice. And thank you for having me here. It's really an honor to address everybody and really speak to the future of our world, really. So I'm really grateful for you to providing me this platform to do that. So good morning, everyone. I hope you and your family are safe. I know it's been tough times, and really kudos to the university to having you to do this session and getting you going, at least. So I'm really happy that you guys are joining your future, if I may say so. So, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing about your future and a wonderful journey at ISBF. So all the best with that as well. So today I just wanted to introduce a profession of actuarial science, really, to you. But I'm sure some of you probably have heard of it before. But, you know, apologies if it's a repeat to you, but I think it should add some color, because I've been in this profession for probably well over 26 years now, 27 years. Probably I started my career back in 1993. I guess some of you weren't, or most of you weren't even born then. But I've had a long, very successful journey and very, very honorable journey to date. So I wanted to share some of that with you. So what I'm going to try and cover today is what's an actuary. Some of you know about it, but really trying to home in what is an actuary, what does an actuary do, qualities that an actuary has, what does an actuary look like. I mean, if there's somebody who looks like an actuary, then it's not really me. There's multiple faces actually. So what does an actuary look like is important. What's an actuary's future? I mean, is it, you know, within India, globally, what's the future? What's it look like? What the profession's going to look like? And how, you know, how it will shape our world of tomorrow. So how you know, so that's really good for me to talk to you about that as well. How do you become one is another area. What companies offer, and actually where I'm also leading RSA. So what does RSA offer? That's going to be important from my perspective to you as well. And I'm obviously happy to take questions as we go along. So please don't hesitate, and perhaps you can put your hand up to Sonia and she'll moderate, and she'll ask me to answer some of the questions. So no problem with that. So shall we just start by saying what's an actuary? So an actuary, what do they actually do? They solve problems. I mean, you might have heard this cliche across a lot of different professions, but actually actuaries are real problem solvers. They're strategic thinkers as well. So it's not just about, yeah, here's a problem, can you just solve it? They also think about what is a problem likely to be, and how are we likely to solve that based on with all the skills that we have under our belt. So it's really important to be that strategic thinker to be able to solve problems. But you need mathematics, you need a deep understanding of financial systems and know-how. It's not just about maths, it's about having a good, strong knowledge of economics as well, and financial accounting and all the rest of it. Although it's not an accounting profession, but a lot of the work that we use gets used by accountants as well, or for their reporting purposes. But, you know, actuary holds very high regard across organizations and across different functions, which we'll come to in a bit. Actuaries are expert in risk, and particularly in quantification of that risk. What does that mean? So it's quantification of risk. I mean, most people say, okay, this is risky, that is risky, you know, COVID's out there, what does that mean? You know, we can't go out. Well, what does that mean to the businesses if you can't go out? Well, there are lots of financial impacts that businesses face. So actuaries can actually quantify that risk. And it's really important to understand the risk, so and have the tools under your belt to be able to quantify it. So as actuaries work in various areas, there are so many different types of problems and different types of risk that companies face. The actuaries help quantify that risk. So they use, like I said before, they use mathematical skills, and they use economics and other financial skills to estimate and predict future events. So imagine any future event. There could be a storm, there could be a earthquake, there could be a national disaster like tsunamis that you might have heard of, or floods in Mumbai. Actuaries get involved in predicting a financial outcome of that as well. So it's quite quite something to be able to do that. So being an actuary means having highly valued mathematical skills and expertise in all sorts of areas. An actuarial career is one of most diverse and exciting and rewarding in the world, and is. I've seen it in my own time. Although I've been linked with the insurance industry, but I've known actuaries across the globe working in such diverse areas, which we'll come to in a little while. But it's the way an actuary goes about his business or her business is second to none. There are not many actuaries around the globe, by the way. That's because not everybody has what it takes to become an actuary, not in terms of just pure intellect, but in terms of the way their values are, their integrity, their morals, their ethics, and that continuous thirst for knowledge and to learn how to do things, to experiment, and to be a social person as well. It's not just about making tons of money. It's actually trying to have the right values with you as well. So an actuary requires the intellect as well, the right sets of values, because you are in a public eye too. An actuarial profession is a globally recognized profession, and I'm part of an institute called Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. It's a UK body, which is a global body but based out of UK, and its membership is close. It's one of the highest amongst the world. And in India, Institute and Faculty of Actuary has, I think it's the largest student population in India, not surprisingly, but and also has a growing number of qualified actuary. And a qualified actuary means whether you're an associate or a fellow. It just doesn't always mean a fellow. So it's a globally recognized profession. An actuary works. I mean, once you have an actuarial skill, you can work globally. Especially with a global qualification from IFOA, it's fantastic. And I think if you have that aspiration, whether to be problem solvers for India or for any nation, or even at a global stage, whether it's a World Health Organization, whether it's the UN, whether it's governments, whether it's companies, whether it's multinationals, if you have that appetite and you have that vision that you're going to go and conquer the world, well, being an actuary is your cup of tea, coupled with the ethics and the integrity I mentioned earlier. So actuary lives by a code of ethics as well, and I'll encourage you guys to read up about that. It's really something is second to none. Because you are in the public eye, you are doing things in public interest as well. So, it's just vital for you to have the right mindset. So, which area does an actuary work in? An actuary, like I said, is an expert in risk. So an actuary can work in banking, insurance, pensions, investments, etc. Actuaries also work and have been known to work as data scientists or chief data scientists in companies like Uber in the past as well. They've also worked for oil companies like BP. And I know of actuary, there was an actuary who also certified the Delhi Metro project from a capital perspective as well. So it's not just purely financial institutions, but wherever their skills gets used, where mathematical financial skills get used, they get absorbed. So actuaries work in pensions, They work in enterprise risk management. They do mergers and acquisition work. They do corporate recovery work. They do financial capital projects. They work in asset management. And I mentioned earlier that they work in pensions, life insurance, general insurance, health insurance. And personally, I've been working in general insurance for a long time. And RSA, my company, is currently is also linked to general insurance. So, you know, if you think about anything in general insurance, if you think about anything that can go wrong, whether it's your home that you live in, if there's a fire, or if the car that you drive, there's an accident, where there's a spaceship that's going up to the moon, or launching a satellite, you know, general insurance covers that. Whether it's livestock, meaning, you know, cattle and sheep, and equine, meaning horses, you know, general insurance actuaries get involved in so many different ways, including things like catastrophe modeling. So how's weather changing, and the impact of climate change on the world. So there's a social angle to it too. Health insurance is what you know, is natural. You know, I'm sure you understand about health insurance and what, you know, medical expenses insurance. So if somebody's diagnosed, say, with COVID, or has broken a leg, or has a heart issue, or is likely to have an issue, and you tend to take out health cover, and then those things get covered. And life insurance is what happens if somebody dies. Then, well, you know, that's whether you get paid out or not, whether you want to keep your estate safe, your family safe, financially safe, that is. Then you take out life insurance as well, and pensions for retirement. So when you get to retirement age, you still need an income, and actually works to work out what that income should be based on your lifestyle. So, you know, within, if I just dive deeper into each of the segments. So if you talk about life insurance, so within a life insurance company, an actuary will be involved in product development, pricing of those products, risk assessment. So even within the insurance company, there's risk assessments that go on for the company as well. So there's critical illness. So somebody gets you know, cancer or something, that's critical illness, and then, you know, what does that mean? And actually gets to work on that kind of problem too. There's disability insurance, and I've talked about general insurance like likes of motor insurance, home insurance. I talked about commercial risks like aviation, marine, space, livestock, buildings, terrorism, cyber insurance, you name it, and actually gets involved in all that area. There are things like industrial diseases as well. So like you would have heard, I'm not sure whether you read all the pages, but there are companies who violate the norms. They violate our water table, where that industrial waste seeps down into the water, and then, you know, general public consumes that water, and you'll find that people get sick, but somebody has to be responsible for. So an actuary gets to work out the damage and liability caused by that. So there's an old movie called Erin Brockovich. It's an amazing movie. Watch that if you can. There's an actuary in there as well. They're actually cited in several movies actually, but even in that movie, they talk about pollution and how an actuary estimates the cost of that pollution. So it's quite wide in terms of application of actuarial skills. They work in health. I've spoken about health, was medical insurance, investment management. So, you know, what does an actuary do in investment management? Obviously, there's investment analysis and portfolio management, and also in buying and selling of assets. That's what an actuary does. Actuary also works in a corporate finance, forecasting and assessing risks, ideal for estimating viability of capital projects as well. And actually also works in government, where you know, from all government policies, whether it's their own retirement policy or whether it's agriculture, actuary gets involved in policy making as well. So it's wide reaching. The profession's very, very wide reaching. And I think it's really, really important that, you know, if you have that ability or that want to make a difference in the world, you know, being an actuary is certainly, you know, a profession for you to consider. And being young right now and thinking what to do, not everybody knows what they want to do post graduation, is something that you should research. There's plenty of videos on YouTube from Institute and Faculty of Actuaries in the UK, and also if you go to actuaries.org.uk, there's tons of information on that. And there are obviously examinations to be sat as well. It's not just a straightforward, so it's not for faint-hearted. The professional examination, which lasts you a lifetime, but like I said, it's a continuous learning profession. So once you've qualified, you still continue to learn and keep updated and to be relevant in society. So why become an actuary? Obviously, it's intellectually satisfying. There are so many actuaries across the globe, and you know they wouldn't do anything else but because it's from an intellectual appeal perspective, it ranks amongst the highest. It gives you a chance to make a real difference, like I said before. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it gets you consumed and be there around the globe to make a difference. And it's a passport as well. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed with actuarial skills is that, you know, despite you know, global closure of borders, perhaps, whether it's US, UK, Europe, or other parts of the world, you know, funnily enough, for actuarial skills, you know, the world's open because there's so much shortage of actuaries, actuarial skills. So the world becomes more and more open. So it's a global passport. It's financially rewarding. It's not going to make you rich overnight, for sure, right? It just won't make you rich overnight, but it will make you rich over time. And that's something that, you've got to define your own richness, but it does make you rich both financially as well as, you know, personally and intellectually. And it also provides you great work-life balance. It's not one of those that says you've got to work 18-hour days, but having said that, to get anywhere in life, you have to work very hard. You have to work very smart. But the key thing about being an actuary, you have to be patient as well. It's not something that you can just do and say, okay, one day I want to be an actuary, and next day you'll become an actuary. It's a continuous practice, and you become globally recognized as well. So like I said, it's globally respected profession. So typically, where does an actuary work? It works, like I said, in terms of all the areas, but they also work in strategic consulting, management consulting, where there's Big Four. They actually works in everywhere, but it's not like each company employs thousands and thousands of actuaries. They don't. You know, they're, you know, some companies, large companies, won't have more than 100 actuaries. Some companies won't have more than 10 actuaries. So
can I interject? Yep. I have a question. Sure. So in terms of a student career path, what would be the best undergraduate degree, or what would be the best major to pursue?
Sure. I'm going to come to that part, right? So okay. I'm going to come to the part where I'll talk about what, you know, how do you become an actuary? So I'm going to come to that aspect in a bit, and also in terms of work, where you can seek employment, sure. Things like that. So I'll just come to that in a second, Sonia. So thanks sure. for bringing that out. And if I forget, please remind me again. But it is on my things in my list of things to talk about. So, you know, in terms of cons, why you don't want to become an actuary, it's only when you don't want continuous learning, and if you're afraid of doing exams, then don't do it, right? That would be my thing to you. Just don't do it. But the skills that you'll acquire can be used in every walk of life. There's a massive outlook. There's a massive need for